hosting with Tent Talk. We do some historical talks. I'm a collector of tattoo machines, flash, a lot of the 815 area code type stuff, meaning Rockford, Illinois related. I was born and raised right here in Rockford, Illinois. So I do a lot of my collecting from Rockford, Illinois, but I also collect a lot of spider web stuff as well. Just recently, I've started obtaining some of that because of the connection with spider web coming to Rockford, Illinois, and actually getting 8 sheets from Milton Zeis personally. And then I've obtained those. So I've always had a liking for spider web, his tattoos and stuff like that. So we'll show a little bit of that today. We'll go into some of his #1 machines from Coney Island and some of his hand custom machines. You'll check them out, some hand poke tattoo machines, if you will. And I'm going to be having a guest tonight, Matthew Steins. He's a resident from Hell City Tattoo. He's been tattooing at Hell City for probably a little over 10, maybe 12 years. We'll introduce, I'll let you get a little talk with him here in a little bit. We'll introduce him after we get rolling a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to be talking with Guy Atchison a little bit. We're going to be showing some of the tattoo machines that Guy Atchison hand cut and engraved, and we're pretty much putting them together and going to put out a few nice special machines, and we'll be showing those as well. And I got some flash right here. We'll be taking a look at a close-up look, some of the sheets that actually Spiderweb received from Milton Zeiss back when he was in his early 20s. So we'll go into that as well. And I want to do a small little, I guess my show's PG-13 type, might be a little bit of drinking, might be a little cigarette smoking, might be a little weed smoking. So, you know, if there's anybody under the age of 17, just be aware that there might be some PG-13 type stuff on this particular Tent Talk. Nothing crazy, obviously, but like I said, my name is Robert Schaal, and we're here to have fun and talk tattoos, historical tattoos. I've been tattooing for probably, in professional shops, probably my whole life I've been tattooing, but in real shops over 22 years, probably, I'd say. I've worked at J Dragon in Chicago, which self-proclaimed one of the biggest tattoo shops in the world. I really enjoyed working there. Fat Joe was quite a character, but we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, I'd love to talk about Joe.
Yeah, so it's as soon as Matt comes, Matt is Matthew Steins is one of the original OGs from the Third Store Mafia. He was up in J Dragon with me when I first started, and I'll let him talk a little bit more about it. But when I first walked in there, man, I knew something was special about Matt, dude. From the minute I walked in, I sat down, he didn't say shit to nobody. And then I looked at his work, man, and his work was just impeccable, dude. I mean, he didn't even do bio, but the first piece I seen that he did was on a coworker of mine that was working there. His name was Pinga. And I'm telling you, man, it was fucking beautiful. I wish I had a picture of it to show it, but maybe I'll have Steins pull one up. But yeah, he's been out tattooing at Hell City for a long time. And like I said, when I first went to J Dragon, I could just tell there was something special about the dude. He could tattoo any style, just about any style. He could just tattoo really, really, really well. So, I mean, that ain't the reason why I liked him, but that's one of the reasons why I started hanging out with him and asking him questions, kind of picking his brain and stuff like that. Because he really, 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 you could tell when someone loves tattooing. And this dude loved tattooing. And when I left J Dragon in probably early 2000s, Steins actually left right after me. And he went to Danville and he opened up a nice tattoo shop called No Regrets. And so it's a real, real nice shop. And when he introduces himself, I'm sure he'll talk a little bit more about that. And I think Gabe, whenever Gabe wants to, he can just let him into the group, and we'll talk with him as well too. But yeah, I was talking, I guess Guy could probably say just as much or if not more than I could on this. I was building tattoo machines a little bit, not crazy, not a lot, but I've always messed with them. I've always been knowing the fundamentals. I've always known everything about it. And when me and Guy and Gabe started talking about doing the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo, I kind of just started messing with a machine to kind of have fun. Because I like messing with stuff, having fun. And I always wanted to do a tattoo machine. So I kind of did. I just, I put it together and I call it the Rockford 815. And dude, it hummed. I mean,
okay, so you're making it sound simple here. What Rob did is he went down the rabbit hole, and the goal is we're going to eventually make a bunch of these guys. And in fact, there's a lot of beautiful frames that have been made now. But the Rockford connection, that this is something that people with a little bit of history might already be aware of. Rockford is this little out of the way place. It's actually the second largest city in Illinois, but it's, most people think of Chicago when they think of Illinois. And, but there's a lot of, historic figures that have come out of there, most notably Milton Zeis, who was one of the pioneering catalog tattoo suppliers back when there weren't such things. So Rob was talking about J Dragon. I just wanted to, weigh in on that a little bit because this was an era in Chicago. There were, I think, 7 shops in the city, and there was a moratorium on new shops. The city of Chicago was just not letting any new shops in. We're talking about a city of 3 million people. And there's 7 shops spread out across all the neighborhoods in the city. So, the few that were there really dug in deep. And J Dragon, Fat Joe's J Dragon was, they were the biggest and loudest by far. And Joe had this thing where he would, spend all his extra money on Yellow Pages ads and billboards and trucks driving around town with billboards on them. And to the point where it was almost obnoxious. He'd take out ads with names of competing shops just slightly changed and, with his phone number on them. And he and my boss, Bob Oslin, hated each other's guts, and they would prank call each other. And this is when I was an apprentice, and I'm hearing all this bile, and it was pretty interesting. But because of this, a lot of the artists that worked at J Dragon didn't really hang out with the artists that worked at the other shops, and kind of vice versa, and so it wasn't until many years later, like, Rob and I had run into each other at, conventions and things like that, but we never got a chance to actually meet and hang out until long after all of that. And it's just kind of funny looking back at that. And I'm very curious to hear Matt's description of that era, because it was, we're talking about the, early 90s here. It was a different era.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see. I believe Matt, has Matt joined, Gabe?
Nope. He'll just beam right in. There's no waiting room.
Yeah, he came on for a test earlier, so if he's listening.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Yeah.
All right.
But
I really enjoyed working in Chicago. Like I said, I'm from Rockford, and I was born here, started tattooing here, and then I moved to Chicago because of the Yellow Pages. Like Guy said, I looked in the Yellow Pages, and it wasn't even every shop. It was every page. It was like 3 pages, full pages of J Dragon. And I was like, holy shit, man, this is kind of crazy. So I went in there, and this kid came up to me, and he was like 18 years old. His name was Joey. It was Fat Joe's son. And I started talking to him, and I was like, hey, bro, I really want a job here, dude. Hey, Matt, how are you doing, brother?
Hey, what's happening, guys?
I was just kind of telling him a couple stories about, I was actually telling him when I first walked through J Dragon and met Joey. So I'll go ahead and introduce you first, Matt. This is Matt Stein's shop owner, Hell City resident, original member of the Third Store Mafia from J Dragon. I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself properly. Matthew Stein, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been tattooing 25 years. I've been doing Hell City for 12 years now. Me and Robert did a stint at J Dragon for I think 6 years. And we were shunned to the Third Store, where we created a clique called the Third Store Mafia. And we had some intense times through the years. And then, let's see, what was that? What year was that? 2006. Yeah, I opened my own place in Champaign, Illinois, 2006. And still running No Regrets Tattoos today. And like I said, I've been doing Hell City for 12 years. 2009, I started doing that. It was a pretty eye-opening experience all the way through.
Nice, nice. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tell a little story about Jay Dragon, about when I first walked in there, when I talked to him, when I got my job. All right, and Matt probably, man, I know Matt's got a hell of a lot of stories. We'll share a couple of those too. But yeah, the first incident, I walked through the door at Jay Dragon, and it was like this little small kid, and he came up to me and he's like, he asked me what I'm doing, and he was, I mean, the kid was sharp, not just a little kid, not just a regular little kid like you would think, some 18-year-old kid. You can tell this kid had been in the tattoo industry his whole fucking life. I mean, you can tell this dude has been in his whole life. You can just tell he was entrenched in it. But when I talked, and he didn't tattoo, and he didn't pierce at the time, but he did learn to pierce afterwards. But anyway, so I walk in and I talk to Joe. I'm like, hey man, you know, I'd like to talk to somebody here, maybe possibly get a job working here. And he sat down next to me, started talking to me. He's like, all right, man. He's like, my dad will be here at 5 o'clock. He said, if you want to come back at 5 o'clock, Joe will come in and he'll talk to you. So I was like, all right, cool, man. I was like, all right, that's a cool idea. I was like, all right, bro, I'm just going to wait here. That was my first mistake. It was like 2 o'clock. So I was going to wait till 5 till Dad got here. That was my first mistake. So I was like, all right, man, I'm just going to wait here because I was excited. So I waited there. And then all of a sudden, I seen Joe come in. And I was like, oh, that must be Fat Joe, because a big old fat dude. So I was like, and then Cindy came in, and she was rather large herself. So I was like, oh, that's Big Cindy. We didn't call her fat nothing. We just call her Big Cindy. So anyway, Big
boy.
And then needless to say, Cindy was not on the Third Store Mafia's team. She was on a whole different team, like the First Store and all that. So it was like, you're on Fat Joe's team or you're on Cindy's team. So that's how that went down. I didn't know that at first, though. I had to learn that the hard way. All right, so I went in there and I was talking to Joey, and all of a sudden he said, yeah, my dad's here. He'll talk to you in a second. Just go ahead and wait. Well, right around 9:30 at night, Joe still ain't talked to me. I'm still sitting in the fucking blue chairs. So in the shop is packed. When I say packed, I mean packed like you ain't never seen in your life tattoo shop. I mean, it was crazy, crazy. And so I'm even more excited to wait. So I sit there all night. Fat Joe didn't say one word to me, man. I ended up leaving there, dude, without even talking to Fat Joe one time. He didn't want to talk to me. So I'm like, fuck, man. So I leave. I drive all the way back home to Rockford. It's like an hour and 45 minutes. So the next day, I call my dad. And I tell my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, you want to drive up here to the shop with me? I'm going to try to get a job at this shop. And I got an appointment to meet this dude at 5 o'clock. So my dad, you know, he's like, all right. So me and my dad, we drove all the way up there. And sure as shit, man, we waited there. Fat Joe came in. I'll be a motherfucker. He did the same thing to me, dude. He made me sit in them chairs, dude, till like 10:30 at night. Still didn't talk to me. My dad was pissed off. And then we went home. So my dad was pissed. So, you know, obviously I was a little bit mad too. This is my second day. So I'm thinking, fuck, dude. And now Matt, I see Matt over there laughing. I see all these other motherfuckers laughing like it's a joke. Like it's a real running joke. So
that was the test.
It was crazy. So I come back again because I wasn't quitting on this job, man. When I seen how busy it was there, dude, I was laser focused on being the best tattoo artist I could at the time. So I'm like, I'm going here, dude. This is the place I want to be, dude. So I went there. And like I said, there wasn't no shops to pick from in Chicago. You've got to pick from 2 or 3 shops or 4 shops. And there was only 2 or 3 decent ones, in my opinion. So by proxy, I'm like, well, this is my spot. And it was a little bit closer to my house on 90. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I went in the next day. I talked to Joey. Same thing. Joe came in. I'm hoping he'd talk to me. And sure as shit, he talked to me. He's like, come here, kid. And I was like, all right, well, I went over there and he said, can you tattoo? I was like, yeah, I can tattoo. He's like, all right, well, I want you to be here tomorrow and I want you to bring in somebody to tattoo on. He said, and if you do cover-ups, I want you to bring in someone to do a cover-up on. He said, and if you want to pierce, I want you to bring in someone to do a piercing on for every single piercing that you want to do inside my shop. And I was like, all right. So the next day, man, I brought like a whole gang of people, my nephew, everybody I could think of. So I was piercing people. I was piercing people like 2 and 3 and 4 times on them and doing 2 and 3 tattoos on, you know, just so I could do everything up under the roof at Jay Dragon. Because, you know, I wanted to be all around, do everything. So I did all that and everything. And sure as shit, I got the job, man. And then I started actually talking probably to Matt first, because it was real hard to make friends in there, man. Nobody wanted to talk to you and nobody wanted to be your friend. Right, Matt?
It was like the thing I could probably relate it to would probably be more like, the prison system with, nobody wanted to be your friend, and you had to like people were hard in there. It was like, after my first 2 weeks, I was like, what in the fuck did I just walk into? And I had come from a shop that was pretty well developed and, a little pretty progressive, but I had moved to Chicago and it was hard to find a way in, like you guys were talking about. And I came in there, and that blue chair trick was the trick. He wanted to see how long you was going to wait there, how many days you were going to wait there. And if you made it through a certain amount of time, he considered you fit to work at the shop, that you would be willing to make it through. And that's why everybody kind of chuckled and watched. Anytime somebody was trying to get a job, we'd sit there and watch and be like, okay, let's see, and then we always gambled on it too. That was the greatest thing. That was our highlight was, half the time the third store turned into a casino. And we gambled on everything. We turned shoe boxes, dice, it didn't matter. It was, we throw dice at anything. If you had a shoebox, you had these little trays, like, if you could throw a quarter into a jar, 100 feet away, shoot, I walk in there one day and they'd be shooting each other with BB guns. And I'm like, this is too wild for me. And, you just kind of had to do your own thing, but it was the Wild West in that motherfucker. That's for sure.
So what percentage of people do you think made it through the blue chair test?
Not very many.
Not a lot.
And that's why I could never understand about that place. There was like, I had called the first time. I said, how many people actually work there? And they said 23. And I was like, why in the world would you need another tattoo artist? They're like, we need as many tattoo artists as we can get. And that was the thing. When you walked in, you just never seen such a sight in your world. It was like you was at a concert and there was like people in there, and they would do probably 40 to 100 tattoos a day, no matter what season. Easy. 40 to 100 on any given day.
Easy.
And there was guys in there doing $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a day. If it was in there, you had it. And most of the time you weren't even waiting on anything. They had a list. But it was the craziest experience I've ever been through in my whole entire life. But yes, the blue chair trick was the trick. And if you made it through that, you were most guaranteed a spot, no matter your tattoo level.
Because it really had more to do with being able to handle the environment.
That's true.
Oh, you're talking about the mundane tattoos that you had to do on a daily basis were everything from Jeff Bartle's flash to tribal pieces. Everything was priced. Everything had a price, kind of like a price guide. So if there was like 25% area for like the chest, 40% area for the hand, and everything was priced out, and nobody cared about the price. So it didn't matter. Those people wanted tattooed, and they wanted tattooed right now. And that was the business in its essence. That's where there you go, right there. That was his genius, was that, we're going to give it to you. We're going to give it to you right now. You're going to be able to walk in and get tattooed, because like you said, there wasn't very many places. So people had to wait. People were booked out. And
if you went to almost any other shop, except for maybe Tattoo Pete's place up on Broadway, almost anywhere else, you'd have to wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And you had like, I think the other one was what, Tattoo Factory or something?
Yeah, Factory. And they lived up to that name.
Yeah. Well, the thing about J Dragon is that it produced a lot of good artists. I mean, there was probably, a handful of guys that came out of there that were really good. And I know probably Larry Brogan won't share this story, and I apologize for bringing his name up, but he was the first one to get out and kind of make it.
Yeah.
And then,
So I didn't know Larry was an alma mater of Jay Dragon. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. You didn't hear that from me, so we'll just keep
He's
that
the
quiet.
original OGs.
Oh no, it's nothing to be ashamed
Yeah,
of. At this point, it's history.
Yeah, no, there was quite a few guys come out of there. I know that
George
Gary
Pappas.
Parisi. Gary Parisi was a part of the trio. It was me, Rob, Gary Parisi.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary's good.
Yeah.
And there was quite a few people that made it out there that did pretty good.
Scotty, what's Scotty's last name?
I knew you were going to ask
He
me
used to
that.
work out there with Clean Rock. He's tattooed his ass off too. He worked there with Joe.
Yeah, he was good.
George Pappas, he's working at Tattoo Factory now.
Yeah.
He used to work with Don Oslin.
Bob.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Guy, you probably know George.
Oh yeah. Yep. He was one of the few people from Jay Dragon that like sort of got out a little bit and mixed with some of the other artists in town. That was kind of a rare thing.
He had that sleeve by Kim Say. I don't know if I butchered her last name.
Yeah, you said it right.
It was like, yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I know when I used to stare at that thing, it was like for that time, that was some excellent work. And George was about good artists. That was the thing about George. He was about making money, but there was a group of guys in there that instilled, hey, we can still make money and still do good tattoo work. It doesn't have to be a tattoo factory. And then that kind of clique kind of grew and tried to like push quality work. And I think that's where I got my business model from, was the two, hey, there's nothing wrong with being busy and making money, but let's do quality work,
Right. Yeah. It was really interesting though, because Jay Dragon had a mystique about it, among the general population in Chicago. Oh, did you get that a dragon? You know what I mean? And they loved it. They loved it. Just the whole fact that you walked in and there was that much energy, even though it might have been a completely chaotic place and it wasn't about the art. It was there was no doubt that you would feel like you'd been someplace.
No, the best part was when he introduced me to Rolo. And I was like, I didn't realize I was kind of in a presence of someone that was considered, kind of a legend in the Chicago area for tattooing, doing traditional work and stuff. And those guys came in there and they looked up to Fat Joe. They did not, he was not looked down upon. That was the thing. It was in his peers. Yeah, in his peers, they came in here and they walked into the shop and gave him the utmost respect. For
Clean
sure.
Rock just went to Jay Dragon 2 weeks ago. Clean Rock was in Jay Dragon. He walked through there.
Yeah, I mean,
and like you said, Malone for sure came in there showing Big Joe big respect, man. I couldn't even believe it because I didn't know who Malone was, to be honest. I didn't even know who he was, but I knew when Fat Joe stood up, walked towards him, put his hand out, shook his hand, and all that. And the dude Malone didn't have no shoes on, no nothing, so it was kind of like, what the fuck? And then when he came in, I was like, oh, this dude's got to be somebody super important. So what I did is I sat my ass down right next to Fat Joe, because me and Fat Joe loved me, dude. He loved me to death, dude. I couldn't do no wrong. And when I seen him, I was like, oh, I want to check this out. So I sat down, and Malone on the cool, bro. I mean, I don't know what his real plans were, but Malone on the cool, and Matt testified for it. Malone pretty much kind of asked for Joe's blessing to open up Taylor Street. And
he did for sure.
He did. I mean, hey man, I was standing right there. And now maybe Malone, if Joe would have said no blessing or whatever, he'd press fuck you, do whatever you want to do. Now that might be Malone. I don't know what Malone do, because I know he's a for real OG gangster, for real.
Yeah.
But he didn't want any conflict. He really did.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. No.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing though, because like Matt said, I was really kind of like blown back by like the kind of respect that was in it. You could just feel it. It wasn't even like you could hear it. It was like you could fucking feel it. Like Matt said, you could just tell it was serious shit. And then when he left, Fat Joe kind of told me who he was. I guess Matt already knew, but I kind of didn't know who he was. But kind of Fat Joe broke it down to us. And then Keith Underwood even gave Fat Joe a set of Flash. So yeah, it was a pretty cool. I really like that too, Matt. That was a cool time, man. And
I miss
passed away pretty much in the same year that Joe did. So
yeah, he was right before. I think he was right before Joe. I left there in 2000 and I think it was 6, and then Joe passed away. I think it was a year later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he you know, Rob, Joe loved you, that's for sure. That was Fat Joe's source of entertainment. When everybody was bored or this or that, he would get, because it was cool, because at J Dragon they had this little conference thing phone to where Joe could get on there, get on the intercom, and provoke people through this phone. And most likely Rob had to drop whatever he was doing when he got called to the front, and usually do something like go measure Tom's neck. So this guy used to work there, Tom, and everybody like that worked there hated Tom, because Tom was the guy that sat there, and I mean, they didn't hate him, but he was the guy that was annoying, because he'd sit at the front door, because at J Dragon, if you worked the piece, that piece was yours. You keep what you kill, type of thing. And he would wait by that front door for every single person. And everybody that worked there was like, come on, man, let these people walk in. Let them take a look around. But no, he didn't care. He's there to make money. He was going to do 20 tattoos a day, no matter what. So when Tom would be standing up there, and of course it was usually in front of Fat Joe's desk countertop area, he would call Robert up there to come measure Tom's neck. And he would say it in front of everybody. Tom, he'd be like, Robert, you need to come to the front store so you can measure Tom's neck. And everybody in the place, there was probably 100 people in the place. They'd be like,
absolutely,
what the fuck is going on? And he'd come up there with this ruler, and he'd be like, yeah, Joe, it's still 6 inches or 7 inches or whatever, however many inches it was. And he'd go right back into tattooing. It was the most humorous.
Hey, check this out. Definitely the most humorous. I went to J Dragon, right? I went up in there and I talked to Angie, and look what she gave me.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. You know what that is? This right
here.
This is Tom. Tom was married to this chick, and the chick had some other dude living with her named Reynolds. Tom got this tattoo on his chest. It's a long neck Tom right here.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah.
Fat Joe drew this. And then Tom got this tattoo on his chest that says Reynolds. And Fat Joe told him, if you put this on your chest, I'll give you 50% instead of 40%. So
yep, I remember that.
Got this motherfucker on his chest, dude. And then after he got the tattoo, I'll be a motherfucker, bro. He went to go get paid that night, and Joe said, we didn't shake on that. We didn't shake on that.
Yeah, he never paid him.
We didn't shake on that. He didn't pay him. So the motherfucker went and got the tattoo laser removed. And Joe drew this one night at his desk. And he always had this on his thing.
That is wild.
And then I went in probably about a year ago, and I was like, Angie, man, let me have that, man. Come on, man. Because Tom hid this up in the rafters. It was hid for like 6 years. And he found it, and Angie.
Poor Tom.
Yeah, it's cool, huh? You like that sign?
Yeah, poor Tom. Yeah, poor Tom. Yeah, that was
right there.
Hey, the old tattoo shop humiliation thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's how you earned your respect there, because you were going to get humiliated regardless of who you were. And I think everyone in the third store were a bunch of comedians. So everyone in the third store, like this was the thing. If you were up in the front store and like he didn't like the sound of your voice, or you were just talking too much, and you could tell he was trying to do something on a computer, and people would start talking and get all stupid and stuff, and he'd be like, go to the third store. You know, that was the thing. You had to go to the third store. That was the punishment, you know, and that's where all of us, the senior artists were closer to the front store. That was the ideal spot. So everybody was in the back of the bus at the third store. And then that's how we became the third store mafia.
Nice.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
That's the kind of thing that would almost turn into it. You know, like if it hadn't been Joe, if it had been any other boss, you would have just all left and opened another shop. You know, but the third store mafia tattoo, right?
Oh yeah, we earned that respect. That became like a man, everybody, that was an envious position. That was like everybody wanted to be in the third store after that. So,
yeah, we'd run them out of the third store. If we didn't like them in the third store, we'd get rid of them. Fat Joe would hire them and we'd fire them.
Yeah, the third store
I swear we would.
Well, yeah, it consisted of hustle. That was basically the deal with the third store. Was you were the seedy hustlers that, you know, would do anything in the shop, because you had a lot of guys in the shop that would refuse to do stuff, and you know, all we did was peek our head up and around and be like, yeah, I'll do that. I don't care, I'll do it. It didn't matter how crazy it was. So
yeah, I was telling them Steins.
Go ahead.
I was telling them Steins right before you joined. I was giving them a little backstory on you, and I was telling them, like, as soon as I walked in J Dragon, I was looking at everybody's work. Obviously, nobody had no portfolios. Nobody had no portfolio.
No.
And then
not that kind of place.
Yeah, no portfolios, none. They might have had one, but trust me, it was hidden underneath their back thing. They didn't want to show. They didn't want to break that out. But you know what I did though? I kept my portfolios right on the front desk. I had all the famous people I tattooed, and all the cool people, all the big tattoos. Anytime someone came in, even said Panther, I'd grab my portfolio. Oh, I do Panthers. That's what I do best. I specialize in them. I tattoo all day.
Robert specialized in everything. There wasn't anything that Robert didn't specialize in.
Shit, I did it. I said, come on, I got you. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But yeah, man, I stopped, and I went in there and I seen Stein's tattoos. I seen that tattoo you did on Pinga. I was telling about that you don't really specialize in bio, but you did that bio piece on Pinga that just kind of fucking, I was like, whoa, that's fire.
Well, that was the thing. I tattooed in Indianapolis from like 96 to 2000, or in and around the Skinquake guys, St. Mark, you know, Junior, Brian Brenner, and you know, Brian Brenner was kind of a mentor to me too. And you had Mark and Monty and Junior and all those guys. So I came from that and then went into J Dragon. So I went backwards. And I remember, you know, being a part of that. I did a lot of biomech stuff, and, you know, of course, you know, Guy, I seen your stuff in magazines, and that was a huge influence. And, you know, at that time frame, you know, 1998, 97, you know, all that stuff. And I did a lot of biomech stuff. And, you know, once I got away from that, I think it was because of J Dragon, and I revisited here and there, but I fell right into portrait realism was more my thing. But my love growing up, like my influence was biomech, you know, getting, you know, abstract tattoos. Most of the stuff I have tattooed on me is that. So that was my thing. But I did some of that at J Dragon, and it was, you know, pretty cool because no one else was really doing that.
You know, this is an era when people didn't really specialize so much like they do now. I mean, to some extent, like you had Jack Rudy, you know, you could get fine line work from him, and, you know, people specialized to some extent, but really for most of us, it was kind of a given. You wanted to be able to do everything pretty well. And, you know, if you had some kind of a style, it might just be something to apply to these different things that people bring in. Yeah. You like doing bio. Somebody wants a dragon, you give it a bio twist. Somebody wants a gravestone with a zombie hand sticking out. It's got a little bit of a bio twist to it, but, you know, that was as much as you would specialize back then. You know, it was more of an open market, you know, and now it's like, it's almost a given. Like if you're a name, you've got a specialty, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think what came in hand was watching Mark, Monty, and Junior and those guys do color realism, because that was kind of cutting edge back then too. There wasn't a whole lot of guys doing that. I mean, back then it was like, you can't do portraits. That was such a weird thing where people were like, portraits will never last. That was one of those things. And then they started doing color, and everybody was just like blown away. And then that became, I'd say probably 2006 to 2013, majority of what I got known for was color realism. But it was because of that grassroots affiliation I had with those guys.
Yeah, that was the other thing that they were doing that was so like novel at the time, was that sort of big magnum, like, starting with a magnum first or whatever, and just, almost a airbrushy sort of look.
15 mag. Yeah. They would
unheard of
mag
that.
everything.
It's so like, one of many, things you'll find in the entire tattoo spectrum now. But I remember when every time you'd see something new like this come up, your jaw would sort of drop. You're like, they're doing what? And then there's this whole crew of people doing it. And so, yeah, that's cool that you were kind of centered in that for a little bit.
Yeah, I had a good 4 years, and, that was the beginning. And, I went to shows with those guys all the time. And then I think the single most biggest thing, and that's where we kind of come back to Hell City, was, the tattoo shows. Going to the tattoo shows in the very beginning with those guys was like changed my life. And then I knew, because you couldn't get complacent, going to a tattoo show, because you were instantly inspired, and that inspiration was like a drug. And then it became competitive, and then you were like, oh, I want to try and outdo this guy, or, oh man, I want to try what that guy's doing, and, add it into my own thing. And that was, a lights out experience for me, for sure. So.
Well, here's a question. When you ended up over at Joe's place, did the convention trips pretty much screech to a halt? Like, somehow I can't imagine him making much leeway for that.
My career stopped there, and I ended up calling my tattoo shop No Regrets, because of the simple fact that I don't have any regrets of working there, but it definitely hurt my career on that type of platform. I would have probably, because I missed 6 precious years of my life, devoted to making money and being in that rabbit hole. And, I'll never forget it, because it created the businessman that I am today. But I definitely had to choose at some point, am I going to be about this career, or am I going to be about money? And I still struggle with that in my lifetime, as a tattoo artist over 25 years. But I think those 6 years were the most crucial, because I wanted to do shows, and we were not allowed to do shows. If we had to miss that time, then somebody had to take our place. So there always had to be fully staffed at all times. And I lost out on some precious time, I think, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I understand where Joe was coming from, because, there's these two sides to the coin, right? Now Bob Oslin, he wanted to keep me at all costs, and he knew, I was only there a few months, and he realized, oh shit, this kid could probably go anywhere he wanted. And meanwhile, Bob had a little bit of an expensive habit, and he really needed the money. And it worked out really well for him to have me there. So he wanted to encourage me to do whatever I needed to do, but somehow, encourage me to come back again. And so he took me around to shows and introduced me to, it was amazing. He introduced me to people like Jack Rudy and Kerry Barba and Ed Hardy, who we had a back piece from. And that was enough for me to really get a pretty big in with the whole scene. And I'm forever grateful for the fact that, he was willing to do that. But at the same time, you could tell he really wished that he didn't have to make that provision, because then I'd get back from the convention and say, okay, well, now I've got a bunch of guest spots lined up. So I'm going to be gone from January to March. I'll see you when I get back. And then I'd come back and he'd be like, well, what can I do to make you stay? I'm like, I'm fine here, man. anyway, I'm going to be gone from August to September. Yeah, it was sort of tense after a while, you know, and you know, it was a very small shop, right? It was the opposite of J Dragon in many ways. And he was gone most of the time. Also the opposite of Joe's approach, because, you know, he definitely wasn't going to leave J Dragon run itself, you know.
Oh, no. He'd stay there till he's done. That was one aspect of Joe where, you know, he was there 24/7, especially the time that I was there. And, you know, this was kind of a running joke. I was considered a slow tattooer. All these guys were fast, and that was kind of a running joke back then. And, you know, the thing about J Dragon was that Joe was going to stay till the last person was done usually. But there at the end of the night, there was a thing, you were in rotation. Well, guys would do whatever they could to get out of rotation. Like towards the end, no one wanted to get stuck with the 2 o'clock tattoo, because we worked from, you know, on the weekends from noon till 2 o'clock in the morning. We got a 30-minute lunch that we had to be back for. But if we were late or missed that lunch, we had to make up that time somewhere in our schedule. I don't know, you know, where it was going to happen, but guys would, to get out of that 2 o'clock tattoo, guys would write down $40 tattoos because it was so busy. You could write it down that you didn't even do the tattoo, but you would write it down so that you wouldn't get caught with that last tattoo. Yeah.
Right. So you'd end up having to, oh man. So you'd be paying.
We would pay him not to tattoo. Yeah. We would literally pay him not to tattoo. This is how it worked out. But it was like,
I do it all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All the time.
It would piss everybody off. But there towards the end, I wasn't allowed to do the 2 o'clock tattoo because I keep Joe there till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Because you were the slow guy.
Said, don't give that guy the 2 o'clock. Don't give it to Steins. Do not give it to Steins. Don't give him the tattoo.
They would not give it to Stein. Steins would keep his ass there till 6 in the morning every time. Every time. He wouldn't give it to Steins for nothing.
It's kind of
not
funny.
For nothing. I don't care if Steins was up or not. Steins wasn't getting a tattoo. Steins was going to do a badass job on it, no matter what time it was. If you came in at 2 o'clock to get a fucking lion tattoo and he was up, well, he was fixing to do a badass lion on you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I'm going to be honest. Now, I might have compromised a few tattoos at 1:30 in the morning and stuff. People will come in at 1:30 and want a big ass tattoo, and you'd be honest with them. You'd be like, dude, you realize it's 1:30 in the morning, right? And you want to get this big ass tattoo, this big old tattoo. It's going to take me 4 hours, 5-6 hours to do this tattoo, right? And they'd push you into doing the tattoo. You would tell them, dude, you'd kind of whisper it to them because you didn't want Fat Joe to know. You'd tell them, dude, I've been here 17 hours, dude. You don't really want to do this tattoo. Right or wrong, Steins? Hey,
you're right.
We'd bring the customer back to the third store. We'd be like, yo, check this out. Dude, we've been here like 17 hours today. You don't want me to do that lion on you. Right, Steins?
Oh, yeah. There was, you know, and that's the thing.
Dude, Steins, but I mean, it is what it is. When I went to J Dragon, dude, I wanted to be the best tattoo artist in the world. I really did. By the time I left J Dragon, that was no longer my goal. I had to refocus on that being my goal again. J Dragon, kind of like he said, how it fucked him up in them 6 years. It kind of did the same to me in my art curriculum because, and you know, Guy, as well as anybody, because when I started talking to you, I was really passionate more about painting because I wanted to be able to, when I die, you know, I can give money away, I can give fucking cars away, but you can't give nothing like love or passionate that you're passionate about it. So when you taught me how to paint and showed me how to paint a little bit, dude, I got so many fucking paintings around here. Everybody that I love can have one of my paintings. You know what I'm saying? So I'll forever thank you for that, Guy, on the for real side. But when I went to J Dragon, I lost that, dude. I lost it. I for really did because Joe taught you how to get that money. He taught.
Well, I mean, I even remember somebody quoting Joe saying, "Leave that art shit at home."
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't use that explicit word on here, but yes, there was a specific term, you know, and that's what he referred to it as for sure.
Yeah, for sure he did. And I honestly, he even let I mean, I don't like to talk bad about Joe, but I will talk the truth about Joe, and everybody knows it, dude. I spoke at his funeral. And I said,
that was the greatest thing ever. That was the greatest thing ever. We had this serious like visitation funeral, and fucking Robert gets up there all fucking ghettoed out, like, hey dude, what's up? Like, this is, you know, Fat Joe's the shit. And just going like on, and everybody's looking at each other like, what the fuck is he doing? It was great.
Yeah. After I went up there. I said how Joe would have wanted it to be said, because everybody was up there trying to talk good about Joe. Everybody went up there and talked real good about Joe. Honestly, I went up there. I said, I don't know where y'all must have known a whole different Joe than I knew, because the Joe I knew, he'd have laughed at half of y'all motherfuckers for saying all that shit. I said he wasn't like that. Joe wasn't like that. Joe was a serious motherfucker. He loved Jay Dragon. He really loved Jay Dragon. And I wanted to pretty much tell people that's really what Joe's about. Joe's a no nonsense. People take him and say all kind of bad shit about him, but really Joe was a germaphobe. People will say weird shit about Joe, like Jay Dragon was a dirty shop and all kinds of shit. I'd be like, dude, you're fucking so crazy. You've never even been in that shop.
No, that's all we did was clean in that place. That's all we did.
He had us clean that place so many fucking times. It wasn't even funny, man. Yeah, he was crazy germaphobe. But yeah, I really like Joe, man.
He had this stuff, this foamy stuff. I'm pretty sure it's going to give all of us cancer at some point. But this foamy, he made us buy cases of this foamy. He would actually use it like hand sanitizer is how he would use it. And this foamy was like a Lysol, like white Lysol that you had to spray down everything. And you just inhaled these fumes every time you sprayed this thing. And man, if he could have used it to clean himself, he probably would.
Yeah. Crazy over the top.
Oh, this thing kills AIDS, he said. This thing kills, it's the only thing that kills AIDS. HIV, like, you know, hepatitis, it'll kill it. It'll kill it in 3 seconds. It's the only thing that works.
He was serious about it. Yeah, he was real serious about it.
Yeah, that was just like the plastic tubes, man. You know, him inventing the plastic tubes for safety. It was a great idea, great concept. But man, those things were painful. You know, it made the tattoo machine probably weigh 3 times as much with that pencil grip on there, because there was no weight on that plastic tube.
No, there wasn't.
So all the weight hung off the back of the machine, you know.
He was the first one to do those throwaway tubes, wasn't he?
Yeah. That was his claim to, you know.
That was his claim.
Was the disposable tubes. Yeah, disposable tubes.
Yeah, he was using disposable tubes shit in the late 90s. He was killing it with those.
Yeah, we had to use those. I hated them. I hated them. I absolutely hated them.
So flimsy.
Yeah,
I still got a couple of those, dude. I still got a half a box of those.
Man, that would probably give me PTSD.
They are.
Like if I see no.
They're going to be old collector's items.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Well, usually we do this tent talk for an hour, Matt.
Yep.
So I'm not sure how much longer we're going to go. I did have maybe anticipated showing some tattoo stuff, some old historical stuff, but I think maybe we'll probably do that next time. I'm going to be having some more tent talks and stuff like that. Maybe
I'm good with that, man. Like anytime you guys want to have me aboard, I'm game. So
okay, all right.
I'm gonna get out. Hey, I'm gonna get out and see you guys, you know, a little more. I'm gonna get out and do a few more things, but I'm gonna come up there and see you. And,
yeah, we'll set up a guest spot, dude. We'll come on up, and if you want a tattoo, we'll call it tattoo, and if you want to hang out, we'll just call it hang out. We'll do whatever you want to do, bro.
All right, sounds good, brother.
Yeah, have a good meeting, man. I appreciate you coming on, Steins.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you, Guy. It's always good talking to you.
Absolutely. I think Guy might have stepped off for a second, but
oh, okay, cool.
But what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and conclude this. I want to thank everybody for stopping out and checking out Reinventing Live Tent Talk. I appreciate all the sponsors, and if you guys want to check it out, we're gonna be doing a lot of historical stuff, some more tent talk, showing some tattoo stuff. A lot of 815 mostly, a lot of the Rockford area, but I'm going to be showing some other stuff like the Milton Zeis tattoo machines. I got some Paul Rogers tattoo machines as well. I got some Jonesy tattoo machines. I got a Aaron Bloomquist tattoo machine. I got a lot of tattoo machines from the 815. Me and Guy Atkinson's tattoo machine is going to be, let me take a little, show you a little peek on that real quick before I go.
Just wanted to little shout out. Mickey Schlick from Montana's in the chat rooms. He says you definitely got to work for it. Hector was in there, said salute de Mexico. And Heinz was watching from Germany.
Yeah, appreciate y'all checking it out, tuning in, man. Check out our machines, man. This is Guy Atkinson's hand cut, high-end carved. Went ahead and hand polished it all. Got it looking really nice. Got some Dot King hardware from the 815. Got some Aaron Bloomquist coils made right here in the 815. I custom made the armature bar and the yoke. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really, really nice piece of art as well as a functionally working tattoo machine. I appreciate everybody stopping in, checking out Tent Talk with Robert Schaal. And check us out anytime. We're going to always be here. I appreciate it, Gabe. And
cheers. Have
yeah, good night.